Oh, hi YouTube. If you're seeing this video, you would have assumed there's going to be more videos in the prep series, which there is not. And I'm here to explain why. Today is the 12th. The Whitney was on the 7th, so it's been 5 days since after the show. Where the hell are the videos, right? I wanted to kind of go over today what happened. What happened during those last couple weeks of prep. I don't want to give excuses because that placates responsibility, right? But I do want to give you the reasons. Kind of explain play by play what happened and what I've learned from that. This isn't going to be like a post-mortem and autopsy of the show. I'm going to do that in another video, kind of go over what the game plan is moving forward. But today I wanted to kind of go over, what happened, what the hell happened during prep, and I'll go through that nice and slow for you. So let me see. Let's go to the start, right? When I decided to do prep, I was probably about 16 weeks out, which is a typical prep if you've ever been on one, right? My problem was I was half in, half out, right? 1 foot in, 1 foot out the entire time of this process. I had a client who I was prepping for the Whitney, and then I kind of decided, well, I'm going to have to go up there anyways. I'm already starting off in really good shape for a prep. It's like, hell with it, dude. I'll give it a go. So I started dieting, kept training, and just kind of let things happen organically. In the past, what I've done is I've been ready for shows. I know 16 weeks out, 20 weeks out, that's the show I'm doing. I pay for that thing right then and there, and I get to working. This year, I decided to not do it with a coach. Again, I've learned from previous mistakes, that's not the way to do it. Go get a coach, go get someone to monitor all that stuff, that way you can be on rails. So, from the outset that I decided to do this, I just wasn't taking it seriously. Which isn't to say I wasn't training hard, wasn't dieting, wasn't doing all the things I needed to do. But anyone who's done a prep knows, weeks 16 to 12 aren't really that tricky. Hell, even 12 to 8 aren't really that hard. But from the get-go, I wasn't taking it seriously. So, mistake number 1. So as I kept going through prep, there was a portion of it where I had to kind of nut up. Things weren't progressing like they should have, so I ended up getting dedicated too quickly, too fast. Again, anyone who's ever trained without a coach knows exactly what I'm talking about. Cut out all this food, you start doing all this crazy cardio, and you just start going for it. And that's kind of a sin to my past, you know what I mean? I came into my very first show not in shape. I was in good shape, I was in really good shape, but I wasn't in show shape, you know what I mean? I looked good in the gym, so to speak. Well, then, my next show, I overcorrected. I came in peeled to the nines, but I lost all this weight. And that's the unfortunate thing, is I made a promise to myself after that first show that I was never going to come into a show out of shape. Regardless of how much muscle I had to sacrifice to do it, I was never going to come in out of shape. Anyone who knows this sport knows you can't be dogmatic in any approach, right? You can't say stuff in absolutes, or you're just setting yourself up for failure. Again, which is what I did. Part of being dedicated too quick, too fast, was that I let everything else in my life melt. Like I said, if you know, you know. But when you do preps, you become a robot, right? You become robotic in your eating, in your plan, in your day-to-day life. You stop just giving a shit about everything and everyone. You're so dedicated to this, and I hyper-dedicated myself to this, right? Where I almost put myself in this little prison and said, you will do this, this is going to happen this way, it's going to happen this way, and just let myself become someone I'm not. Like, you do, and that's the thing about doing preps, is you do have to take your personality, aspects of yourself, and put it into a box. So I'll come get you after prep, right? You lose some of those things. And what I'm saying is there's a time and place for that, right? Right now is not that time, right here is not that place. There's levels to this sport. You don't need to dedicate that hard to this in the beginning. You're not some 250-pound guy coming in lean. It's easier to land, a small boat than it is a big guy, right? Try landing a Boeing, a 747. It's hard. It's a big boat. It's a big plane. When you're this small, it's not that hard to do it. It doesn't take every ounce of your life. You can still go out. You can still have cheat meals, right? You just gotta program that shit in there and not be so dogmatic. With me, I'm not that guy. I have to weigh out every single rice to the ounce. I gotta cook it the same way every single time. Same thing with my chicken, right? And it just, again, it creates a little bit of a monster in you. That's the shitty part, is that you're gonna come out of it. When this all said and done, you're gonna go back to being the same guy. You've hurt the people around you for 4 months, 3 months, 2 months. You've changed this person. You expect them just to hop right back in. And that's the part I was having difficulty in this prep, was that I was pushing these people away who were my foundation, who were my support, making an already hard task harder because of what I going too quick and too hard in the paint. So that affected me mentally really hard. So mistake number 2. So next, everything that could go wrong on this prep went wrong. I mean, my God, I've prepped before a bunch of times and never really had any hardships. I mean, it's difficult, but it's so much easier when everything in your life is already set. You know, I had issues with my job. I had issues with my home life. I had issues, name something that you can have a problem with, and it was a problem for me. It was just difficult. A client that I was prepping is one of the hardest clients I've ever had to prep because we're friends. You know, we're really good friends. And it just made it so much more difficult to prep her because we were so close. I let her say things and talk to me and do things that I would never let any other client or person I'm training do, which affected me, you know what I mean? It affected our relationship. So, like I said, there was just no strong foundation, no normalcy in my life, which again stressed me out, man. It made it so much fucking harder to want to do these things, to want to get up and do them, to be motivated to do them. And I think that's the part, man, was just, you think at this point in my life, during all these preps, I wouldn't need motivation anymore. You know, I had the discipline, but I swear to God, it was like what was being asked of me was astronomically harder than anything I've ever tried before. The amount of discipline being called upon was something I just couldn't show up for. And I kept telling myself, you know, I've done this before, I can do it again. You know, this is just, you know, I'm at that next level where things are harder. That's what I'm trying to tell you, is that I'm not making an excuse. I'm giving you the reason. The reason I didn't do well at my show is because when my card got pulled, I couldn't hack it. When called upon to be disciplined, when called upon to act a certain way and behave like a champion, I couldn't do it. I mean, I couldn't. I got to a point where I was like, oh, woe is me. This is so hard. I can't do it. And next thing you know, I'm cheating on my fucking meals. I'm replacing, you know, instead of doing normal cardio, I'm out there doing 2 hours every fucking day, 8 weeks out, so Fatty can have his fucking burger. You know what I mean? That was what was happening. And I would justify it. As a coach, I'm so good at coaching other people when I'm debilitated. But when it's yourself, it's so much harder to make those decisions. You know, I would look at myself and I'd see some of the weight loss I had, and I'd be like, oh, you can totally cheat. You can totally have this meal. And I was giving myself excuses, giving myself a way out. Then I would spend a whole week trying to undo one fucking meal. It just became harder and harder and harder. But I pulled my head out of my ass. Those last few weeks, I was doing really good. I was on track. I was slightly behind, but I knew I could make it happen. I want to say, man, 2 weeks out from the Whitney, I was about 198. So I was on track to make classic physique and light heavyweight for bodybuilding and classic, right? Well, I started peppering in some refeeds, which I shouldn't have done. You know, I think I needed them, but I shouldn't have done them. I wasn't that ready to be able to handle the refeeds. So luckily, about a week out, I was about 198. I knew if I had, 4 more days, I could cut back a little bit, I'd make weight easy. Well, I get sick. I'm just a giant baby when I get sick, and I was debilitatingly sick. And I don't know what happened. My body wouldn't let go of water. I mean, we're talking 205, 206 some days of water. Literally, I went from 198 to like 206. It was just... The prep was already hard, and I felt like I was going to make it. And then I got to a point where it's like, there's some higher power out there who is making me fucking quit. And that's the shittiest part, is I gave up on myself. I mean, it's hard to say now, but a champion would have gotten through it. And I couldn't. And that's shitty. It feels shitty, having to admit that. But the good thing is, after the show, like I said, I'll do an autopsy of the show, that way you guys can see what happened, but I ended up getting 3rd and 5th. I got 3rd in, because I couldn't do classic physique, couldn't make the weight. So I ended up having to do novice men's bodybuilding and heavyweight bodybuilding. If you look at me for 5 seconds, you know I'm not a heavyweight bodybuilder. So I was like, I'm not walking home with nothing today. I ain't placing, I'm last in every category, but I'm here and I'm walking on that fucking stage. That's the point I was at, where I was like, at this point, the win isn't to even place at the show, it's to fucking step on that stage. You were gonna have to kill me to stop me. I mean, at that point, everything that could have got in my way, and I wasn't gonna let it happen. In the novice class, I ended up placing 3rd, which was way better than I thought I was going to. And then in the heavyweight, I ended up placing 5th, which again, I don't even look at myself now and think I'm a heavyweight. Here's the part, man, like, even when it happened, I was happy. I was like, holy I was able to do it. And that made me feel worse. That made me feel so much worse. Like, you shouldn't have placed. You know what you did wrong. Guys are dedicating so much of their time to this, and you're just fumble f***ing around and here's your medals. You know, it's just, I wanted to do good. And when I saw myself, I just was like, you've done better. You're walking into this half, and then it makes it like it feels awful even getting the placings I got, because I don't even feel like I deserved them. You know, maybe that's some crybaby, but I just know I'm so much better than what I came into. But you know, I did learn some stuff from this, and that's what I choose to take away from this. That I'm never gonna walk into this 1 foot in, 1 foot out anymore. Either I'm doing it or I'm not. Either I am or I'm not. It's a light switch. It's no, oh, well, I'll do it for a week. Yeah, I don't want to do it. If I'm doing it, I'm doing it. There's no feeling in this world that I've had than showing up and just not even trying. That won't happen again. I can promise you that. And honestly, there's some good feedback. This is the first time I've ever decided not to make weight, so I was able to carb load, which I've never experienced before. And me, man, that is a science. You know, I've carb loaded other people and stuff like that, but doing it for myself was like, it was crazy. I'd rather have a coach do it, but I've learned a lot about how to do that for myself. So that's cool moving forward. I did learn that I've gained a lot of muscle, but I know I'm going to be at the top of those caps next year, which is perfect. It's where I exactly want to be. And I know what category I want. I'm built for classic physique. I can dabble in bodybuilding, but my physique just plays to that. There's all kinds of shit I learned from the pictures, you know. I definitely need to get a bigger set of wheels. I got to take my ego out of my back training, because it's hard to say. It's hard to tell because I didn't get lean enough to see what everything was there. I was upset with how my back came out. I wanted it to be a little bit more thicker. So that's something I want to work on. My ab development. I don't train abs in the off season, and that shit gotta go. You know, looking at my ab development, it throws off my physique. I think it throws off my physique. It really does. So I want to make sure that I prioritize that. I got a fire lit under my ass, man. Like the day I stopped that show, I'm signing up for the Dennis James. I'm doing that show. You know, I'm ready to rock and roll. The object right now, or I should say the objective right now, is to stay in shape, you know, stay nice and lean, build what I need to build, but don't go overboard. I don't want to have to lose more than 20 to 30 pounds in the off season. I'm going to let it happen organically, but 220 is kind of where I want to weigh. And if I get to that point, I think I'll main gain. Again, that's not a good way to do it, but I'm going to monitor myself, right? I don't take pictures in the off season. I don't weigh myself. I don't track my food all that well. So that's happening. So that next video is gonna be the plan and show you how I do that step by step. That's what I want to talk about. You know, there's no excuse for my behavior. There's no excuse. I treated this like me against everybody else instead of me against the problems that I had in my life. And you know, now I understand that discipline isn't, you don't just get it. That's what I thought. I thought I've already earned my discipline. I have it in there. No, it's something you have to fucking work at. It's money. It's money in the bank. You know, you park 10 grand in the bank, you think it's always gonna be there. No, you keep spending it every day. You'll run out. You know, you gotta keep putting money back in. So I definitely need to learn how to have that discipline. And I think part of that too is being proactive, because I wasn't. I was very reactive in everything I did. Like I said, there's no fucking excuse for that behavior, what I did. So moving forward, that's gonna be put to an end. I just wanted to be transparent with you. This sport is hard, man. It's not easy. It takes a toll on you. Especially when you got going on in your life. That's the thing. The sun's gonna rise, man. The sky's gonna be blue. The ground's gonna be hard. Those are facts. Life's gonna be hard. You know, champions aren't the guys who can show up and do the work when everything's honky-dory. Champion is a guy who shows up when nobody else will show up for him. When you're doing in the dark, that's what happens. You know, Seabohm always says pressure is a privilege. It's also a choice. You know, I chose to do this, so there's no boo-hoo for me. You know, I chose to do this, and I'm responsible for the actions because of those choices. And I'm responsible for how I look, for how I place, for how I behave. I can sit here and cry and say, you know, oh, my work, and oh, I didn't have a place to stay, and you know, my life's just so crazy. All of those things are true. But every morning I had the choice to put that aside and do this. Every day I could have made that decision, and I chose not to. That's what it is, man. Bodybuilding is way more than eat, sleep, and lift. It's a mental game, and this was the hardest thing I've ever had to do mentally. Out of that failure has come that triumph, right? Now I know what it takes. Now I know what it takes to be at next level. I got the lifting down. I got the food down. I got all the science down. Now it's the shit in here. It's the mental side. So I'm hoping you're going to be with me during this whole off season. I guess my big thing is I'm sorry for going dark. Sorry for not being able to do it. Like I said, I was just so like fucking depressed. Like I didn't even want to show you guys what I was going through during prep because it got to a point where I just like hated who I became, who I was acting. Like this is not me. I'm such a driven human, and I was like, where the fuck is this coming from? But now that I'm on the other side of it, now that I got some food in me, I understand. I understand what was happening. And at the end of the day, that's what it was. I just wasn't strong enough mentally to get through it. So that's what the off season is. Figuring out what I need to put in place to be successful in terms of my mental fortitude. It is what it is, but the only way to move forward and grow is to admit this shit. To take a hard look at it and say, that's what happened. And I got no one to blame but me, and I got no excuse for that. That's what I got to do to get better. That's a bummer, right? That's a shitty way to end the video. But, dude, here's the thing. It's gonna get better. You know, this is a bump in the road. I hope to look back at this video and be like, that guy doesn't exist anymore. You know what I mean? Like I said, I just wanted to be transparent with you guys. I appreciate you watching the video. You know, follow me on all the social media garbage. Like I said, I'll post another video of the autopsy of the show. That way you can kind of get a nitty gritty of how I critique my physique, how I critique what happened, and how I make a plan off of that to move forward, right? So, like I said, follow me on the social media garbage. Share the video if you like the video. Subscribe if you want to subscribe and see more. And thanks for listening, man. I appreciate you.